Hi, Scott Whitley here, coming to you from the bass cabin. The subject of today's lesson is all about giving notes their full potential, if you like, their full value. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of do completely the opposite of that to kind of demonstrate. It's kind of a graphic way of demonstrating what I'm talking about. Okay, so if I wasn't to do that, and I see this in a lot of sort of more beginner players. And even more experienced players who've just never taken the time to apply this kind of concept to the playing. So if I take something like a scale, like the major scale or something, always a great choice. If I wasn't applying what I'm talking about, this is what you might get. Okay, so what's going on there? Each note is very separate, very kind of staccato, if you like. Nothing kind of flows. Now, not for 1 minute am I saying you should always make every note flow in one into another. Of course, if you're playing like that kind of funky stuff, you're going to use that choppy kind of staccato sound all the time. And more or less, I guess almost every bass line you might play almost will have shorter notes. So I'm not talking about always playing every line, but let me demonstrate that same major scale with this kind of giving every note its full value. Here we go. So what happened there was every note almost flowed into the next in a very kind of legato fashion. So if you kind of take the time in your practice to just get that really down on a bunch of stuff, scales, different lines, licks, whatever you want, then it's going to give you this ability to really make beautiful flowing kind of lines when you want to, And if you look back, I did a video, I'll put a link below, about making your bass playing more lyrical. Applying all that kind of stuff. You can really get a lot out of a note rather than playing loads and loads of different notes. So let's go through this, okay? If you've never played the major scale before, I'm just going to very, very quickly show it you. And if you learn nothing else today, this is really worthwhile learning. It's probably the most important thing you could have learned, I think. Here we go. I'm going to give you, sorry about this, in fret numbers, okay? So E string, 5, 7, A, 4, 5, 7, and on the D string, 4, 6, 7, okay? So that's on the E string, 5 and 7, on the A string, 4, 5 and 7, on the D string, 4, 6 and 7, okay? So let's just play that a couple of times. Let me get a drum machine going. Let's do it very, very slowly for a minute, okay? Here we go. Don't worry too much if you've never played this before about applying the techniques. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So here we go, just getting the notes together. All right. And down, descending. And again, up, ascending. And descending. All right, that's your major scale. So let's talk about this technique of making one note flow into another and how you do that, okay? So we're just going to play notes 1 and 2. Now, we're also going to adopt this one finger per fret thing, okay? Just look at that. So that finger deals with all those notes. That deals with all those notes. That with that. And that with that, okay? And that's going to really, really help so you don't have to leap around the neck. I'm playing short scale basses, so it's a little easier for me, but believe me, it can totally be done on a long scale. I'll talk about that in a minute. So here we go. Start with the 5th fret, the 5th fret, the first note of the A major scale on the E string, 5th fret. with this finger, and then what you want to do is play that note, and then when you go to the next note, what you don't want to do is, kind of put that down first. You want to basically press into that note very quickly at precisely the same time that you pluck it with your right hand. Okay, so you get this. All right. All right. So what that means is hanging on to this note for dear life. Just don't let go of that until the absolute second you're going to pluck this, the second note with your right hand, and at that point, it's almost like you're playing it with your little finger as well. Okay, you can do. I mean, you can hammer onto it, but we don't want to do that. We want to play it a little softer, and so we get the attack of this. That's the tone we want. Okay. And then we just carry that through. So we go to the third note. The same thing. Okay, we hang on to that note like for dear life. Don't let go of it until the absolute second you're going to pluck the next note. Now this might mean that you have to play extremely slowly. If you've never applied this technique before, you might end up something like, this is like 40 BPM might be. The thing we're looking for is that really smooth legato thing, and like I say, the thing you've got to watch for is that you don't move this hand before this hand. They've got to go precisely at the same time. So let me talk about that long scale thing, because it's dead easy on these short scales. To adopt that one finger per fret thing. A little harder on a long scale. You can totally do the one finger per fret thing, but if I was playing a long scale, for sure my hand would have to move around a little bit like this. So let's kind of simulate the idea of a longer scale bass, like a precision or something like that. The first two notes might be more, instead of that sort of distance, it might be like that, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to sort of pretend that they're my first two notes of the major scale, and you can see, if I play that with my middle finger, I've got to move my hand to get there, right? So there has to be, I guess, physically, a minuscule gap between that note and that note. But check it out. Here we go. It's almost perceptible, yeah? And that's because what I'm doing is I'm hanging on again for till the last second or the last millisecond with this note here, and just as I'm about to pluck the note here, I kind of just fling that little finger. I aim as if I'm shooting at it, and just put it down. So it's almost like when you go for that next note, you're doing these together, okay? All right. So let's try it very, very, very slowly together. 40 BPM, like I just did a minute ago. Major scale. You play it up and then down. Now, some people you might notice play these scales like, and I sure practice that from time to time, but it's nice to 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we play the top and the bottom note twice, and you get a nice kind of thing that fits in a 4/4 rhythm. So here we go. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm down. Ah. Listen for those gaps. Hopefully there won't be any. And descending. One more time. Okay, so, you know, depending on where you're at with this, you might have found that some of those, there were some spots in that scale where you were getting those gaps, maybe the whole thing, you know, whatever it is. So if you find you can't get that flowing thing going, then what you got to do is slow it down, maybe even slower than this, and just almost take the rhythm out of it for a minute, okay, and just literally, if you know, let's say it was going from note, you know, 5 to 6 for whatever reason you have problems with, you would just sit there and go, you know, and just do that. Just watch your fingers, just get everything ready, you know, until you've got that kind of smooth transition between the two notes, and only then start to speed it up very slowly. And then when you do get it up to speed, what you find is your playing is so much more fluid and musical and beautiful. And then when you do want to pull that stuff out of the bag, you know, when I was doing that kind of, you know, it sounds very kind of, like I say, you know, legato and smooth, and it's almost got a kind of, I don't know, like a cello, especially with a bit of vibrato. Like I say, link in the description below to my lesson on making your playing more lyrical. So that's about it for today. Really hope you enjoyed that and you get something out of it. If you are enjoying the lessons, then hop over to patreon.com/Scott Whitley, and you can see a few of my lessons over there, and you can support my work here on YouTube. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Cheers.